Welcome to Fulfilling This Belly Sting. A show dedicated to aligning a journey to a better mental health using the understandings of the ancient Norse. Join us each weekday morning at 7 a.m. Alaska time. Someone's little girl, daughter, sister, girlfriend, fiance, wife, cousin, mother, auntie, grandmother, great grandmother, elder, disappears, shattering, a family, a community, the world. There is something we can all do. Remember them. Like that.
God morgen and happy Freyja's Day to you. Today, of course, Friday and the most wonderful day of the week as we speak today, as always, about energy management, particularly going into the weekend. We've had a long week. Although many of us may have enjoyed a shorter week, it may have been a rougher one. So this week we're going to, as we get ready for the weekend, we're going to talk about energy management, how to bring that all back. So before we get started today, as always, I want to say tak to all of you who have liked, followed, subscribed, and just essentially shook some kind of hand with one of these platforms. I can only begin to express my appreciation. If you haven't had the opportunity, now is the time. Go ahead and like, follow, subscribe us on any of these platforms. TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Streamlabs, never know. And then we also have the audio platform, which is available on anywhere you get your podcasts. So a wonderful collection of platforms at which for you to consume, hopefully, the message. Finally, I also want to give a huge shout out to New Reality TV, newrealitytv.com, a wonderful collection of spiritual perspectives, of ways to look at life, and certainly that energy that is available throughout the cosmos that can help us to obtain or maintain a better mental space. For those of you who might have a few extra coins, be sure to hit up our tip jar. Our tip jar can be found at akoutlaw.com or .live. There you can help support our mission of getting this message out, both from a technological standpoint as well as from a traveling, where we go out and we meet with people and to help them reobtain their mental space. You can find out all there is to know, well, quite a bit anyway, about me, my shows, the mission, all of those things, teachings are all available at norsewhispers.com. There's also a place where if you happen to need someone to listen and bend an ear for, by all means, check out norsewhispers.com/coaching. My life coaching services are available to all over the internet, and we can hopefully help you find that intellect that helps you obtain or maintain better mental space. So today we're talking about Freyja, my personal favorite of all the gods and the goddesses. Freyja represents so much to both the Germanic people, to both the and the Norse. She had an amazing range of gifts that she would bring to Midgard and certainly to Asgard as well. First and foremost, to understand a little bit more about Freyja. Freyja, of course, the daughter of Njord and the sister to Freyr. Freyja represents an energy management. She was the goddess of love and war, so she understood energy. These two, what seemingly diabolical states of mind, or diabolically opposite, I should say, um, represents two energy states within the mind. But nonetheless, they are still powered by the energy of the cosmos and processed through the mind. Freyja, a wonderful goddess who has given me so much, of which I am eternally grateful. Freyja represented, certainly early in the migration north from the Celts of the Iberian Peninsula, Freyja kind of took over in recognition, combination of tribes there as they migrated north through Germania. She would kind of take over for really being recognized from Danu. Danu, of course, being from the original Celtic beliefs. But as these tribes moved north into Germania, we would see an evolution of recognition. And of course, Freyja would come to represent quite a bit. Now, in the documented records, and many will attest to this, we struggle to see from a documentary, hard history, kind of the difference between Freyja and Frigg. Frigg, of course, being the wife and the All Mother. She was the wife of Odin, and she would represent quite often represents the family, that family unity, child rearing, and those types of tasks. That's really what Frigg brought. And in some of the documentation, we see kind of this confusion between which one is Frigg and which one is Freyja. And we see quite often there's a few, I won't say that they're disconnects, there's a little documentation differences. Suffice to say, Freyja represents energy. She is the goddess who brings magic. She would teach magic, this Seidr magic, to Odin, of course, fame and fortune in Asgard. But when little backstory there, we had a war that was going on between the Vanir tribe of gods and the Æsir tribe of gods, and these gods were constantly at war until they drew a truce. And in the truce agreement, in the treaty, they would exchange gods and goddesses. Gods from and goddesses from the Vanir tribe would live with the Asgardians, and the Asgardians would send representatives to live with the Vanir. That was kind of almost a prisoner exchange, but they were free to, of course, go wherever. But it was this treaty that would bring Freyja into Asgard, where she would come in close contact with, certainly with Odin. Odin would then have her teach him Seidr magic. Now, Odin would go on to learn more magic, but outside of his lessons with Freyja. But Freyja had an amazing connection with the cosmic magic and the cosmic energy. Now, what is magic? Magic, of course, is the manipulation of energy for the manifestation of that which we want. We simply use magic to, bring things into our lives, to control our emotional state, to do many different things with magic, and, of course, as many know, to manifest things here on the physical plane. Now, what is manifestation? Well, manifestation is simply a manipulation of energy to alter our and others' perspectives of this reality, right? So we magically make a horse. Poof, the horse appears. It's now that energy has moved from the spiritual realm onto the physical one. the one we live in. So magic really is simply the manipulation of energy. Matter of fact, in Norse beliefs, taught to me by my great-grandparents, we have two real forms of magic represented within the Norse belief system. The first one, of course, we just spoke about, of which Freyja would teach Odin, and this is Seidr magic. And Seidr magic relies on other spiritual entities within the environment, wherever you are, and we cast our spell. We cast it with a little energy, right? So we're going to vocalize it. So we're going to cast a spell. That energy goes out and it's going to be received by other spiritual entities, whom are then going to provide their energy to this manifestation. And we're going to see essentially this collection of energy move this thing from spiritual to physical, right? So we're going to kind of see that as we go forward. Now, in Seidr magic kind of relies on more or less the reallocation of physical resources. So, as the example that my great-grandfathers taught me was, if you were you were having a long journey, you were having to walk a long way, and instead, in the very beginning of your journey, you would go ahead and you would call out your spell, you would cast your spell for ease of travel. Okay, and we're going to cast that spell, and that spell is going to go out to our spiritual entities all around us, and they are going to begin to set up, using all of the magic that they have, they're going to set up a condition that then brings this thing to fruition. As an example, we cast a spell for ease of travel, or the Landvadi, which interprets from Old Norse, interprets to spirits of the land. These Landvadi would go out and they would discover along your path there was a pasture, of which next to, on the other side of that, was a farmer who had a horse. Well, the Landvedi would go to convincing the farmer, hey, if you really let your horse out, he's going to really appreciate just being out in the pasture and being able to run. At the same time, we have other Landvedi who would approach the horse and say, hey, if the farmer lets you out, we should dash over to this other side of the fence, or the other side of the pasture, where there's a traveler whom we could offer a ride. Wouldn't that be cool? And kind of convince the horse to do this. Then the original Landvedi working on the farmer would then say, hey man, let's just open the gate. And poof, comes through the horse runs through the pasture, meets up with you, and gives you a ride from where you are to the other end of his pasture, or a certain distance. This has now achieved your cast spell. Your spell comes to fruition when the horse appears and allows you to climb on and travels with you a certain distance, right? So this is really Seidr magic. And Seidr magic also works for vision, seeing into the future, seeing around the conditions. It's an energy transmission between us and other spiritual entities, thereby allowing other spiritual entities to provide us with feedback. So we're casting Seidr magic. These spiritual entities that are working with us can say, oh yeah, I can see that over here, and so this is what I'm seeing right now. So we have this vision from some other place and time, right? So this is Seidr magic. The second level of magic that the Norse recognize, and it really comes originally, we see it surfacing in early Germania, is Spakkraft. Now, Spakkraft magic relied on energy from the magician. In other words, this is a what is it? DIY, do it yourself. So we're going to generate the energy, inside, we're going to cast a spell. And that's all we need to bring this thing to a manifestation, whatever it is, right? So we're going to manifest something in our hand. So when we talk about the magicians of Hollywood as an example, we're speaking of spellcraft, right? Because they're going to hold up their hand and poof, something appears in their hand. And there it is. And that's spellcraft magic. Now, spellcraft magic is not for everyone because it's a very powerful, concentrated beam of energy that we're actually bringing something from the spiritual realm to the physical realm. Seidr magic relies on resources already created, already in existence. We're simply reallocating them to our needs. Spellcraft magic there's not. This is when new things are formed, right? So brought over from this energy that we're then funneling out to the manifestation of whatever. Now, when we talk about healing energy that we're going to use to now heal the self, most often than not, healing energy is spellcraft. Not always, but a lion's share of self-healing is done using this spellcraft magic. And what it's doing, again, you're generating the energy intrinsically, and then you're going to kind of roll it out through the aura and then back in to provide this healing energy. Super exciting because this is self-healing. This is what you do every night when you fall asleep, is when your consciousness slides back into your spiritual brain or your spiritual self, we're simply casting energy out to the spiritual realm for it to kind of make this return trip, multiplying usually exponentially as it comes back in, and we can then direct this energy to heal. Now, when my great-grandparents were talking to me about energy and how it moves and how it all shifts through the cosmos, they kind of explained to me my existence as a living form in all the cosmos, in all the realms. And they explained to me that I should think of myself as a leaf on a tree. I'm a leaf, right? And so I have a stem that rolls down through me as my branches, if you will, of my existence kind of spread off of this stem. And then along the way, I have these veins that go out to the outer parts of me, very much like a leaf connected to a tree. Main stem, and then the veins coming out. Every time a vein hits the main stem, that's called the chakra. Now, the chakra, there are several of them throughout the body: crown, third eye, throat, heart, solar plexus, right? And so on and so forth. These chakras are more or less little spinning discs that exist on this center stem. They cast energy out and bring energy in. That's what they do. So they draw energy, push it out through the stem. Our stem is then connected to the branches of Yggdrasil. According to the Norse, Yggdrasil was the main tree, the center tree of all existence. All the realms existed within Yggdrasil. Our energy would then go up into the branches of Yggdrasil, traverse through all the branches to the trunk, down the trunk, and then it would be represented in the water of the wells at which Yggdrasil had its roots. So Yggdrasil, the three major roots of Yggdrasil would go into these different wells. Primarily, the one that we really hear about in the stories, certainly from my grandparents anyway, was the well of Urd. The well of Urd was a well at which sat at the base the Norse sisters. The Norse sisters Urd, Skald, and Verdandi. You could consider them or associate them or parallel them with the women of the fates from Greek understanding. The Norse sisters kind of had a lot to do with our physical existence. But most importantly, they guarded this well. Now, in the stories we hear about Odin, who would trade one of his physical eyes that he may drink from this well. When he drank from the well, what was he drinking? He was drinking water? No. What happens is when Yggdrasil is drinking from the well, it is also depositing images of all of its experiences. So all of the experiences of all the life forms throughout all the realms all come down into this root, which is now reflecting it into the water of this well. Odin would then drink these experiences, and he would rest for 9 days and 9 nights, where he would process all of these experiences through his already gained wisdom, knowledge, I should say, to create wisdom. This is the understanding that my great-grandparents would give me about the motion of energy in our lives every minute of every day. Freyja represents that. She knew precisely how to move energy around, in and out. She would go on to teach, as we know, she would go on to teach Odin the power of Seidr magic. She would go on to teach Midgard, those here on Earth. She would teach us both Seidr and spotcraft, both super critical understandings of energy motion, right? And this goes to your healing every night. This goes to communications. This goes, there's a lot tied to our understanding in energy management. So super exciting, super important that we recognize this every minute of every day. We are being influenced by some energy. Some energy. Some good, some not so good, some wanted, some not so wanted. All of this energy is coming into our brain, coming into our being, and being processed, having some effect. So when we are just minding our own business, doing our own thing, happily going through life, and all of a sudden we just get this ornery spell out of the blue. It's like, I'm just ornery. This is when an energy pocket of negativity has come into our processing. Other things, other experiences that we're also pulling in through our physical sensory input is having some effect on this energy, or conversely, this energy is having some effect on the way we're interpreting our reality, right? So we get the energy that we're ornery and we're not so happy. Notice how the things around us that we're now seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, all kind of support that mentality, support that mindset, right? We're kind of ornery, and so there's a reason to be ornery. There's another reason to be ornery. There's another reason. We begin to see these all around us. Why? Because what's happened is this influential energy has come in and altered the energy processing of our normal being and set our emotional filters to be ornery. So now we're going to interpret all incoming data, all this sensory input, sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, all of these are going to be processed now through this emotional filter of orneriness, right? Conversely, if, say, we have a wonderful evening and it's a beautiful sleep and we're so rested and we're so comfortable and we wake up and it's a beautiful day and we're just so excited and we're so happy and everything, notice how things look that way. Things around us will begin to support that mindset. This is the reality of our emotional processing. This is really what sets your mindset. And here's the kicker. For me, anyway. The kicker for me is I have control of that. I can look at my life's experiences and I could say, oh, that's really bad. I really don't like that. I really don't. Conversely, I shift my perspective just a little. And all of a sudden, yeah, that's not so good, but look over there. That's really cool. That's beautiful. Or that's wonderful, right? I can shift my perspective just a little. And now alter the way I'm perceiving reality, right? I'm interpreting, my brain is interpreting the experiences I'm having in reality. This is a beautiful thing about being us, being who we are. We can change our perspective. We can change the way we look at the world and the way we interpret the experiences that we have. We can support a negative understanding, view, perspective, or we can choose the other way. We can do that. You can do that. We all can do that. We simply have to want to. So now we drop down in the process, and now we're dealing with our hearts, right? So when we decide to be a little bit more open to harmony and joy and peace and love and all of those wanted emotional states, we're going to find that our brain finds things that it experiences that support that mindset, that make it what it is. This is energy management. This is what Freyja teaches us that we have the potential to do. We can alter the way we interpret reality, right? And we always maintain that. We always have that. That is one of those skills / pieces that no one can take away from us. It's part of who you are, right? So very critical when we talk about anxiety, we talk about depression, we talk about some of these unwanted states. We need to start putting into our mind that we control that narrative. And like the steering wheel in a car, we can either have our hands on the wheel. I don't know that it matters that we have them 10 and 2, but we can have control of the steering wheel, or we can let it go, right? And believe that faith will carry us to our next. Not for me anyway. I prefer to have at least one hand on the steering wheel, right, of my life. I want to be making the decisions that follows a narrative in my mind that I want, not someone else, not situations, not conditions. Nope. I don't want the fates driving. I want to be in charge, and I want to drive. So this is really a decision that we can all make every minute of every day. We can choose to subscribe, to fall into this pit, I call it, of not happy, of unwanted emotional states. Or we can choose the other direction. The choice is completely up to you. So I hope that you use this weekend as you hopefully get some time off from your daily routines, and you can enjoy the weekend bringing that energy back to the self to promote healing within both the mind and the heart, the body. Bring all that energy back for healing, and it's continually moving your emotional state to that which you want. So I hope this weekend is wonderful for you. I look so forward to seeing you again as we celebrate the Norse god Mani on Monday. And in the meantime, I hope again that you have a wonderful weekend. For those of you who haven't had the opportunity, go check out, there it is, it's over here, New Reality TV, newrealitytv.com. Wonderful collection of other perspectives that maybe can resonate with you and help you to understand your spiritual journey. All right? Love and light, my friends. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.